Alright, so we are in round 4. It is nighttime currently. Here's my new hand I drew at the very beginning of the turn. Looks like I got one of the wounds, another influence, stamina, and I have my banner of command, which couldn't have come at a better time. Now once you reveal a core or a brown tile, you are able to draw from the elite units, which is, you can tell which ones are the elite ones by the gold back. And what you do is you alternate off. Every other one is a elite, a regular, and an elite. For the solo conquest, we just draw the 3 cards, so we'll have 2 elites from here on and 1 regular unit. So the good news is we're on the monastery right now, and we have the savage monks that we can recruit from there. Because of this little symbol right here, that just means that you can recruit from the monastery. Unfortunately, the 2 elite units are both units I can recruit at keeps. Keeps and the city. That is where our banner of command will come into play. Normally I would want to keep this for an influence 4 and recruit a unit to possibly assign here, but I'm not really making efficient use of my command tokens. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to use its stronger effect, pretty much destroying this card, and recruit any 1 unit from the unit's offer for free. I think that'll be good given the circumstance I'm at. So that way I can be able to use that to recruit one of the city units, and I can do a regular interact and try to power it up with this one and be able to get the savage monks. So hopefully what I want to try to do this very first turn is to recruit 2 units, and that way I can begin my assault on the city. I need to choose which one of these cards I want to use. Yeah, from the dusk. I also have Long Night, which pretty much says if my deck is empty, I can reshuffle my discard pile and pretty much draw up to 3 cards. Pretty much it's just adding on to my turn or my round, which I kind of played the last round pretty slow, so I don't think that'd be a good choice. We have Midnight Meditation. So one time during this night, I can shuffle up to 5 cards and draw that many and flip it down. So it's essentially a mulligan, which I'm going to keep this in consideration because I might want a mulligan already. And we have Sparing Power. If we make it to the last night, I might want to save this card for that to essentially have a really large turn. I think the only good choice for me would be the Midnight Meditation. Now we get to shuffle and see which one a dummy player does. Of course. Dummy player took Sparing Power, so I will not have that option for the night round. But I will be taking my turn first since I have the 4. And I believe I'm actually going to use this ability right now. I'm going to go ahead. It says, before any of my turns, I can shuffle up to 5 cards, including wounds, from my hand back into my deed deck and draw that many cards. I want to try to see if I can get any kind of an influence action. So I'm going to reshuffle my movement and my swiftness and the wound. Alright, so that'll be 1, 2, 3. Actually, wait. I think I'm supposed to have 4 cards. I don't know if I start off this turn with the 6 or the 6 cards. So I should have a hand size of 6. We'll do one more. Hopefully that didn't affect anything. If anything, it put me at a disadvantage for not having drawn more in the first place. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And looks like I have just about what I need over here. And I think the first action I'm going to take is I'm going to use the Banner of Command. I will gain Fame 2 and recruit any 1 unit from the unit's offer for free. So this gets destroyed, I will be removing this from the game. I will gain Fame 2. And now the choices are, I'm going to get Catapults or the Amotep Gunners. They got a lot more health than the Catapults do, and they can attack block 5 or range fire attack 6. Catapults are usually a safe bet to go with when in doubt, just because the siege elemental attack is not something you want to scoff at, especially when assaulting cities. There's a lot of bad guys in there that have all sorts of resistances. To be able to take out an enemy during the siege phase is a huge deal. So I'm going to be using that ability to recruit the catapults. Now for the next part of my turn, I believe I'm going to recruit. I'm going to be using Promise because I have two options. I have a red die and a white die in the source. I gotta be the jerk that I've been in the whole entire game for that extra reputation, but at the same time I'll have to take a reputation hit at the end of the turn. Or I can be the nice guy, shake hands, get the units without taking a reputation hit. The only bad thing is I'll have to play cards sideways to make up the reputation difference. I'm going to go with Promise because I don't think I can afford to take any more reputation loss. I'll be playing Threaten for the Influence 2. And I'm going to play Tranquility for a sideways card. Remember, even though we're at reputation -3, it is now nighttime, so my Dark Negotiations adds +3 to my influence. So that negates my reputation hit. So for the reputation, or for the influence 7, I'll be recruiting the Savage Monks, which, hey, comes with a siege attack as well. And they just cost 7 to recruit. And we should be ready to take on the city. So that will be the end of my turn. Roll the green. Alright, the dummy player is gone. And now it is my turn again. So this card came up. I'm learning once again. And it says I can do the whole pay influence. 4, 2 or 4, and 9 to gain an advanced action. I think I'm mainly looking at that card to see if I want to do some more recruiting. And there's Blood Rage. That's available for training in the monastery. Attack 2, and I can take a wound to get attack 5, or attack 4, take a wound to attack 9. There's no white mana available, and I have no way of really changing the source to make that happen. So there will be no recruiting going on. Instead, I'll go ahead and start trucking along and heading towards the city. So I'll be doing the move 4, and I'll play a stamina for move 2, and that will put me right next to the city. Move 5. Now, normally during the nighttime, you can't see what's inside fortified areas. With cities, they kind of have their own rules, where regardless of the time of day, if you're next to them, you can see what the units are. So we're going to go ahead and reveal the units. Alright, so let's say for our white token, we have a white catapult with cumbersome fire attack 8 and fortified. Unfortunately for us, what that means is the fortifications do stack. So if you have a fortified unit inside a fortified area, they are double fortified, and there's really, unless you have a card that can negate fortifications, there's no way to use siege attacks to take this guy out during the siege phase. Alright, and then the other two, we have this mana core looking thing. Fortunately for us, he already has poison. I don't think the poison stack, so it's not like he gets double poisoned. They're just his physical attacks become poison or they're not. He's got swiftness, assassinate. This guy shouldn't be too much of a problem to take out either. And then we have the gargoyle. He's got the physical resist, attack 5, and that's going to be a poison as well. Alright, overall not too shabby. Now what I'm going to have to do is look at the cards I have left and see which one of these cards I want to carry over that could possibly help us in the city assault. Mana pool, definitely. I'm going to keep that just in case we need to use multiple source or dies from the source. Dodge and weave, that looks like it can be useful as well. And swiftness, once again, it can be useful too. However, I think swiftness ability for the range attack 3 is not going to be nearly as good as it could be because none of those guys are unfortified. But for this case, I think I may hold on to all the cards. I don't want to ditch learning yet because I may want to use this to try to recruit units in the city once I conquer it. So we'll just see how this goes. Go ahead and end my turn. Oops. Oh, great. And that's what we consider not good. It looks like our source is very unfriendly at the moment. We have 2 gold die and 1 red. Since it's nighttime, I'm not able to use the gold mana. So those are essentially going to be hogging up the source until the end of the round, or if I can manipulate them and change it, which I will need a white mana to be able to do that. So I can change those with mana pool. I guess we will see what happens next. So the 2 new cards I've pulled, we got concentration, and fortunately for us, gain a blue, white, or red mana token. Normally, everyone likes to use this card for this powered effect. It's really strong. It lets you use the second effect +2 to any kind of extra thing you add on there. So if you get move, influence, block, or attack, you get that amount +2. Alright, so assaulting cities is pretty much the heart and soul of what solo or conquest in general is about. Everything we've been doing up to this point leads up to trying to take out these big cities. So when you're attacking the city, we're going to have to face against all 3 of these guys all at once. So instead of the usual, trying to pick one person or 1 unit to fight, we're going to be fighting 3 of these bad guys. It can get pretty complicated too because there's a lot of things you have to factor in, on top of all these different resistances and fortifications abilities. You also have to factor in the bonus that the city provides. So a lot of times this can take quite a bit of time, especially if you have people who are very prone to analysis paralysis. This is where the majority of your time playing Mage Knight will be spent, especially as you progress to the larger cities. But for right now, I kind of try to figure out what I was going to do ahead of time. It may not be the most optimal play, but it'll work for me right now. So we will go ahead and carry through. Alright, so for starters, to actually assault the city, you got to move into it. That's a big thing that you will find as you play, that a lot of people will not necessarily forget, but they'll plan out this big giant move and realize, hey, we never paid the move cost to come, to get inside a city, and you have to start all over again. So I'm going to go ahead and pay swiftness for my move 2. I'm going to set that card aside, just show that I've, not get confused with any of my other cards that still haven't played. And I will go ahead and move Erythia onto the city. Now, just like other fortified sites, when you attack or assault a city or a fortified area, you take a reputation hit. So we will go ahead and move our already low reputation down to the 5. Just like with any other combat, we'll go through all the different phases. So we're going to start off with the range and siege attack phase. Now, something that hasn't come up, which I'll address right now, when you're trying to attack anything during the range and siege, you can combine your range and siege attacks. or I'm sorry, you can, on top of combining those, you can also combine the units. So you can decide like a group of units you want to take on. However, and this is a really important thing about that, is if you, well, let me just leave the tokens on here. Say for example, I wanted to, get like a siege attack 10 and take out, 2 of these guys. What ends up happening is they end up sharing whatever abilities or resistances with each other. So as you can see, this guy's got the fire resistance, and this other unit over here has physical resistance. They will end up sharing their resistances, so they will both essentially be fire and physical resist. So you have to be careful when combining your attacks, or you have to put that into consideration. A lot of people will forget that and maybe end up cheesing their way through when they weren't supposed to, because the guys ended up being resistant to one of the attacks that they were using. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and during the range and siege attack phase, I decided that I want to take out this gargoyle over here. He's got physical resist, but he's only got the armor of 4. So I am going to be playing this concentration card over here, and I'm going to be using it to generate a white mana token. So I'm going to set that aside over here with swiftness, and I got my token. We're going to keep that in the back burner for right now. This may come into play here in a minute. I'm just going to kind of keep that in the back of my mind. I got these catapults over here, and they can do siege, fire, attack 5. And I had a red mana, so I don't need to use mana pool to generate, the red mana. I can just use that mana from the source. So I'm gonna go ahead, and this was the red one. I'm trying to find where the red part is. All right, so I'm gonna use my red mana from the source and go ahead and move my command token to spend it. And I'm gonna use a siege, fire, attack 5 to go ahead and take out this gargoyle. Since he's physical resist but not fire resist, all that siege, fire, attack 5 will go ahead and carry on to him. Now you'll notice I'll have 1 leftover point of damage. Unfortunately, if I didn't designate a group, or like a group of guys, any of that damage I believe is lost, so I can't carry over that rate, siege, fire, attack 1 and take it to the attack phase. It has to be used now or never, essentially. So this siege, fire, attack 5, I'm going to be wasting, or not wasting him, I'm going to be using it all on the gargoyle over here. So that will take care of him. I'm going to move this mana draw over here on the bottom. It may play out that we may not need it after all, but we'll see how this turn plays out. Alright, so next, after the range and siege attack phase, we will go to the block phase. Both of these guys, I have these 2 units over here. I got the savage monks and the peasants that possibly I could generate enough block take care of it, but I was going to need these guys to actually be able to take out to try to use them for damage to take out these guys. Alright, so that will leave me one other option over here, and that is to try to use my dodge and weave card to reduce the enemy. This one in particular is going to come really, being handy. Reduce 1 enemy attack by 4. This mana core has the potential to inflict 4 wounds to me. You'll do 2 to my hand and 2 in the terms of poison. I don't like that. The catapult over here, as it stands, he's got an attack of 8. He doesn't benefit from the poison from the city since it's not physical. So he can do, if I assign a damage to myself, he can do up to 3 wounds to my hand. So this damage is a lot more manageable than the mana core. So I'm going to go ahead and use a dodge and weave. And I'm going to use a stronger ability. Now here's what I'm trying to decide. I kind of worked out this turn in my head a little bit earlier. To be able to do the damage that I wanted to do to take out one of these guys, I would have to play Learning Sideways, because I'm going to end up taking wounds in my hand, and I won't be able to use the stronger, or the second half of this effect to add attack 2. Well, I'm going to go ahead and use the mana pool, and I will set those mana die at this time. So I'm going to take one of these gold ones and I'm going to set it to white, and I'm going to set the other one to green. See if I can find a green. Alright, and then the effect reads that you set these, one of each of these die and generate a mana token of each of these colors. And it says do not re-roll these die when you put them back in the source. And what's great about this is that it doesn't count for using my one die per source limit. I've already used that on the catapults. So I have these 2 mana tokens. I'm going to use the white one over here to reduce one of these enemies' attacks by 4. So I'm going to reduce this mana core to 0. Alright, so now we get to the next phase, which is the assign damage phase. Now normally these catapults are pretty easy to block, because the cumbersome over here, what that means is you can pay any amount of movement, one for one, to reduce the damage. I didn't have any movement in my hand, and movement doesn't carry over. Not that it would have mattered in this case, because I used move 2 to assault the city. So I'm going to have to eat that entire 8 points of damage. I could wound my catapults and then just take 2 wounds in my hand, but then it would cost healing 3 to heal my catapults all the way back up. The way healing works for units is that for every level they are, it costs 1 point of healing. So it would take heal 3 just to heal these catapults. I'd be better off just taking 3 wounds into my hand and doing the heal 3 that way. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And just to recap on the way wounding works, you have 8, and then you take the point of, or the wound first, then you subtract the damage by your armor. Okay, yeah, you take 8, minus 3, then you're 5. Then you take another wound, minus 3, and you're at 2. You take another wound, minus 3, and then you're at 0. So that'll be 3 wounds total. Alright, so I'm going to take 3 wounds into my hand. I didn't take my draw size of wounds, so I don't get knocked out. So now we get to the final portion, the attack phase. And I'm going to go ahead and use both of my leftover units for their attack. The peasants, they're going to do their attack 2. And the savage monks, I'm going to be using them for the siege attack 4. The only reason I didn't use use the siege attack 4 during the siege and attack phase is there's really nothing I would have been able to take out during that time. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to combine it with the other siege. Okay, so that's 4 and that's 2, so that'll be 6. And since I took wounds in my hand, I don't get the benefit of dodge and weave. So I'm going to use those that 6 points of attack to take out this manticore over here. I don't like that poison ability, nor do I not like the assassinate. So he will be taken out. And just to recap what we did during the range and siege, we took out the gargoyle. Used dodge and weave to reduce this guy's attack by 0 or to 0. We also used concentration to generate mana pool, to generate 2 extra crystals, a green or tokens, green and a white. Took 3 wounds for the catapults, and then we're signing 6 points of damage to take out the mana core. Alright, so that is our first attempt at the city. We will have one more unit to deal with on our repeat assault. And what we do now is for every unit that or every enemy you destroy, you put a shield token on the city card. In multiplayer, if you have multiple people assaulting a city at the same time, depending on who defeats, how many units, they'll place a shield marker on there, and whoever has the most becomes the leader. But in this case, I'll be the leader regardless. There's no one else I'm competing against. So I'm going to go ahead and count up the fame that I've earned for defeating these two units. Alright, the Gargoyle gave me 4, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And the Manicore gave me 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Poor Erythia ends up getting kicked out of the city and back into the woods where she came from. And now we roll for the end of the turn. We have a green mana. Alright, so since we've leveled up and crossed the skill track, now we can draw 2 more of Erythia's skills. One of them is Dark Paths, that during the night she gets to move, she gets a +2 movement during the day 1, or she gets Hot Swordsmanship. She always have a +2 physical attack or +2 fire attack. Or we can go ahead and look at these other skills from the common skill pile. And one of these is one of Norwas's skills. Let me see if I can read the inspiration. It says, once a round, except in combat, flip this to ready or heal a unit. And the other one's just another motivation. I think the real one I'm trying to consider getting is inspiration. So essentially I get to reuse or heal one of my units, and I think this is going to be great for using my catapults again on this next turn. So I think I'm actually going to think outside of Erythia's box and go with inspiration. Alright, so since I decided to go with the dummy player skill rather than my own, instead of being able to choose which one of these units or which one of these cards I get, I will be forced into taking the bottommost card, which in this case will be Into the Heat. So let's play this card to start combat. All your units get their attack and block values increased by 2 this combat. You're going to not assign damage to units this turn. And the stronger one is increased by 3. Wow. That's going to synergize really well with a skill we just took. So I'm actually grateful for this. Alright, and it looks like we have room for one more card, seeing that we have 5 cards in our hand already. And we'll draw the card we just got, Into the Heat. So dummy player went, and now it's our turn again. So we have a handful of wounds. And learning and Into the Heat. Initially I was trying to save this card over here for potentially recruiting new units over in the city. But the problem is right now we're kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere. I can't move. Neither of these cards generates movement unless I play them sideways, and I don't have any movement on my units. They're all spent. I mean, I could use the peasants to walk in there, but then that would be kind of a waste of a turn. So I'm forced with the decision to declare a rest action for this turn. Now when you declare a rest, you can declare one of 2 different types of rest. One is the one that we're going to be doing, just the regular rest, where you have to discard at least 1 card in your hand, 1 non-wound card, and you get to discard all the wounds. And the other one is a slow recovery, where if you have nothing but wounds in your hand, you have to discard, declare you're doing a slow recovery and discard 1 card at a time. So you never want to end up with only wounds in your hand, because you'll be forced to do that. Alright, so we're going to be doing the regular rest. And I'm also going to be using this time to use my inspiration. I'm going to flip this and ready my catapults. Alright, so the dummy player went again. And now it is our turn. And now we have better options than we had before. I'm going to go ahead and pay the move 2. I'm going to use swiftness to move on to the city. And I'm actually going to challenge that rampaging enemy. Whenever you move into an area adjacent to a rampaging enemy, you can always choose to draw them into the battle. The reason I'm going to do that is because moving on to the city and paying the move 2, I'm going to be taking a reputation hit, and I'm going to be going to the X. So I want to be able to negate that by picking up this guy and at least getting the reputation bonus from killing him. The good news is, drawing this guy into the battle, he won't be fortified. He won't get any of the city bonuses or anything, so I can treat him as if he's outside the walls. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring him in here. And I am going to go ahead and use my dark fire magic. I'm gonna flip that and get another red crystal and a red token. And I'm actually gonna be using both of them this time. One of them is going to be for the Into the Heat. This one's to play this card at the start of the combat, and all your units get their attack and block values increased by 3 this combat. And the other one I'm going to use to do Firebolt. I'm going to use a range attack 3 to go ahead and take out this guy over here. And then we're going to go to the block phase. Unfortunately, I can't take this guy out during the siege or range and siege phase because he is double fortified. So I'm going to try to reduce a little bit of his attack with movement. I'm going to use the Refreshing Walk. Unfortunately, I won't be able to use the heal too because you can't heal during combat. So, being played during combat, I'm going to have move 4, just the move 4. And what that does is it reduces the attack point for point on cumbersome enemies. So right now he's at an attack 4. And I'm going to play Determination sideways for a move 1. And that way he'll be reduced to a attack 3. Alright, so with him being reduced to an attack 3 and my armor being 3, I will only take 1 wound into my hand. Alright, so now that leaves us with the regular attack phase. I think instead of using the powerful ability or the powerful effect for the attack 3, I really only need 7 attacks. So I'm just going to use it for his basic effect, which is all of your units get their attack and block values increased by 2. And I'm going to power this one up and give the catapults a siege fire attack 7. And that should be enough to kill the catapults. So just to recap, I challenged the marauding orc over here, the rampaging enemy. Took him out with the ranged fire attack 3. Used Refreshing Walk and Determination to reduce the attack of this guy down to 3. Took 1 wound into my hand and played one of the 2 crystals that I generated from my skill plus Into the Heat to do attack 7 and take out the catapult. We go ahead and increase our fame and our reputation. Alright, so for this enemy right here, we'll get 2 fame and 1 reputation. And for this catapult right here, we'll get 7 fame. And we'll end up leveling up again. And then we'll place another shield token on the city. And we are officially the conquerors of the city. I'll go ahead and roll the die, see what we get. We get a blue mana. So I can get another token. So now our armor is essentially 4. So we can take reduce attacks by 4, and that'll help with wound management. Alright, now before I draw my hand size, in the rules, if you are the city leader, which you are the leader if you have the most, the majority of the shield tokens on that city, when you're on the city, your hand size is 2 higher than normal. So with our hand size being 6 already, plus 2 for being on the city, we will get to draw up to 8 cards. Alright, and the dummy player is taking his turn, and he has emptied out his deck, so the next turn he gets, he's going to be declaring end of round. So we'll see if there's anything we can do while we're in the city. There is these guys over here, the Amotep Gunners. That icon right there says that you can recruit them in a city. We are also at a -5 reputation, but with our dark negotiations we can reduce that penalty to a -2. So those gunners will cost 10 influence to recruit. However, when you're on a city, the amount of shield icons you have on here actually counts towards influence. So as long as you're on the city and trying to do an influence or interact action on the city, you will get 3 or however many shield tokens you have on there. And for us being a leader here, we'll be generating 3 influence. Alright, so I think I'll be using the rest of this round to kind of recuperate. I'm going to go ahead and play Spellforge. Play this special ability. It says gain 2 crystals to your inventory, the same colors as 2 different spell cards in the spell's offer. There is a white spell and 2 red spells in the spell's offer, so I will use that to get a white crystal and a red crystal. And that will put me at my maximum for the reds. You're only allowed to have 3 crystals of the same color in your inventory at one time. So I have 3 reds and 1 white right now. I think I'm just going to declare a rest action. The thing with these cards, just because you take a rest doesn't mean you can't play cards on your turn. You just can't take a movement and an action. The special cards over here you can do at any time. So I can still legally do my Spellforge and declare a rest. So I'm going to be declaring a rest and I guess getting rid of, let's see how many cards I have in my deck. I got 4. So I'll be getting rid of, let's get rid of stamina. I'm not going to be moving anywhere. We're going to be getting rid of Spellforge. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, safely get rid of 1 more card. Get rid of the other movement. I'm going to be staying here for this turn. Alright, and that should be my turn. So I'll go ahead and roll the die. Got a blue. Alright, so the dummy player is declared end of round. I have 1 more turn. And let's see if I can actually pull this off. I needed 10 influence to get the gunners. Minus the 3 because I have the shield icons on there. That'll be 7. Probably play improvisation. I'll go ahead and use one of my red mana crystals for that. So let's get rid of the attack card, and there's my influence 5. Influence 6. Influence 7. And we will welcome the Amotep Gunners into the fold. No sense in not using Crystallize. I want to go ahead and crystallize a green. You never know when a concentrate is going to come up. I'm still debating on if I want to use the blood ritual to save a crystal. Oh man. I'm going to be a chicken and not take a wound. Alright. So that will be the end of the round. I generated a green crystal, recruited the Amotep Gunners. I should have a sizable army to go ahead and march and hopefully reveal the second city. If I can take them out in round 5, that would be awesome. I'll get a lot more bonus points, as we'll see here in a little bit, if I can do that. Alright, that's the end of the round.